Again.
Yeah,
again.
it is. Yeah.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to our climate talk of the Young Climate Campus today. Today, we're focusing on the topic, exciting action field of economy. My name is Henna Wiese, and I will be facilitating you today with my colleague Johannes. But today, what are we going to do? We're going to look on how economy, green economy, and sustainable transition could look like in Berlin. Germany is full of startups, but Berlin is definitely the #1 startup leader city of Germany. And we're asking, how can these socially and ecologically engaged greenpreneurs, socialpreneurs, entrepreneurs have a lasting impact on the economic nature of the city? We're also asking, do we just need to adjust our economy in a green way, or do we need a more fundamental systemic change, going, for instance, towards an economy of the commons, where nothing belongs to anyone and everything belongs to everyone? And we will explore and discuss these questions today with our beautiful experts, Dr. Professor Jasmin Altenau and Nena Rieger. And we will reflect, how could we transform our economy so that it's both ecologically and socially just? Before that, I will give the word to Johannes.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll just say a little bit something about the Kipppunkt Kollektiv, or the Tipping Point Collective, where Henna, Elisa, and me are from. And we're a collective that is doing participatory workshops for mostly young people about climate change and climate justice, and we're trying to connect those topics to other ones like democracy, activism, gender, and economy, for example. But let me just say something really short to the overall netiquette. So we're trying to do it a little bit more participatory. So if you want, you can, or let me at first speak to the people that I see right now. Afterwards, I can talk to the people that watch us, but I don't see them. So we're trying, as always, to have the cameras on so we can see each other more, like have reactions, like waving the hands or saying yes or smiling, and just using a lot of body language to interact with each other. So we know what's going on behind the other screens. Also, you can, if you want to say something, you can put a star into the chat, or do pluses if you like something, for example. And obviously you can speak if you want. Just do a star in the chat and we can give you the word. And for everyone who's not, or whom I'm not watching or I'm not seeing right now, can obviously also interact, but we won't recognize it. But just do whatever we say if you want to, and it will be made more fun, I guess. So yeah, you can obviously look more on the website of the Young Climate Collaboration Berlin, and you can also find there the code of conduct. So if there is harassment or discrimination, please let us know, or please write Henna Elisa, because we don't want that here, and we would like to help or find a solution for everyone. So yeah, that's basically it. There's also an email address on the website where you can contact the young club, probably Yannick. So yeah, you can do that if you want to.
I would just add one more thing for everybody who's watching this in live stream on YouTube. You can feel free to post questions in the chat of the live stream, and we will every once in a while take a look into the chat, and we will be able to bring your questions also here to the discussion. Before that, Yannick will tell us a little bit more about the project.
Yes, thank you, Hannah-Elise, and very warm welcome from my side also to today's event of the Young Climate Campus Berlin, focusing on economy. My name is Yannick Petersen. I'm part of the YCCB team at Lab Concepts, which is the project management agency supporting the Berlin Senate Department for the Environment, Transport and Climate Protection. This time I got it right. In the creation and conduction of the Young Climate Collaboration Berlin YCCB project. And I'm very, very happy to, for the 5th time, to be on this campus today, focusing on economy and discussing with the speakers that we have with us today. But just a few words about the project. The YCCB project in this first part on this climate campus is focusing on the 6 action areas of the Berlin Energy and Climate Protection Program 2030. The BEK 2030 in short, which is an important milestone on Berlin's pathway to becoming a carbon neutral city by 2050. And I've said it before, the 6 action areas, hence 6 climate talks that we are conducting, and we are collecting. We are looking closer at the action areas, but we also identify open questions and issues where there is still room for improvement and room for action. And we take those takeaways to the Young Climate Conference Berlin, which is taking place as a digital event in June, now from 17th to 18th June as a 2-day digital event. So you can see that this is kind of a project where we take a lot, where it's kind of a pathway where we develop our inputs and take them away to the conference at the end. So we really invite you to stay engaged if you're watching this. Tune into the remaining climate talks, well, remaining climate talk, because there is one more to come. And of course, engage at the conference itself. Registration will open very soon. The project is aimed primarily at young adults between the ages of 18 and 28 years. And the goal is obviously not only for you to collect information, but then to use that information to formulate your own claims to the Senate Department at the Young Climate Conference. And those claims will be handed over to the Senate Department at the end of the conference. Just one more thing, that we also have an Instagram channel and an Instagram campaign where young media agents are creating their own content and posting it. So please find us on Instagram or on YCC Berlin. And last but certainly not least, I will obviously also be a part of this discussion, but won't be saying that much because I will be simultaneously to this discussion be filling in our virtual whiteboard on Miro. And I hope that if time allows it, that at the end of this talk, we will have a quick glimpse at this Miro board and have a look at a quick summary of the points that have been discussed. That is all from my side. I'm very, very grateful to the speakers that you are here with us today, and of course also to the participants both here in Zoom and on YouTube, and wishing everybody a nice and successful event. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I'm also saying hello to Chris. So there's somebody who came also to us. Please feel free to put on your camera if you like. Yeah. I would like to now introduce our speakers, our experts, Jasmin and Neno. So Professor Dr. Jasmin Altenau, she's a professor at the Business and Administration and Entrepreneurship in the both University of Applied Sciences in Berlin. She did her dissertation at the Free University of Berlin, and after that has been very active in the BorderStep Institute, where she was in charge of the development of the Green Startup Monitor. So, and she also gained experience on startup management in Germany, but also in Sub-Saharan Africa and in Peru. So I would like to say very much welcome, Jasmin. And before we go deeper to the discussion, I would like to ask, what do you find exciting about economics? Because often people think like, oh, economics, like, wow, numbers, and oh, I don't know, statistics feels like very black and cold. And what do you find? Why do you find economics so exciting?
Yeah, well, first, thank you for having me. Thank you for the invitation. Very happy to be part of today's discussion. Yeah, I can assume, yeah, I understand that some people think economics is boring. It's not at all, because it defines so much of our life and where our path will go to. Maybe I can also underline why I believe entrepreneurship as such is super important, because entrepreneurship does not only relate to startups and like young businesses that are growth oriented, no, innovative and growth oriented, but it relates so much also to our mindsets. It gives us a certain mindset on how to look at the world, identify problems, and find solutions for these problems. So I believe that especially entrepreneurship in this environment of climate change and our other grand challenges that we have today is a super important and relevant topic.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Let's give a hand to Jasmin. Yeah. And then we also have another expert, Neno Rieger. He's a board member of the Gemeinwohlökonomie Berlin, which means the economy of the common good in Berlin. He began his business studies at the University of Düsseldorf, in a place that was very much influenced by a neoliberal financial perspective of the economics. And he then went looking for some alternatives. What could be other ways of organizing our economy? And he came across the economy of the common good. And after that, Neno Rieger has been active in this movement for 7 years. And now he's completing a master's degree in sustainability management, and is also a board member of the economy of the common good in Berlin and Brandenburg. And Neno, I'm also going to ask you, why do you find economics so fascinating?
As you said, I started studying economics, and it made me really unhappy because I saw like how everything is like going in the wrong direction, and we studying it, and they teach the wrong things. And so then I went like away from economics, and I was like going to politic development and psychoanalysis. But then I came across the economy for the common good, and I saw, no, there is a way. I'm still interested in economy, but not the way how it is taught and lived today. And so, yeah, economy is as Jasmin said, is like in the center of our lives and has such a big influence. And if we want to change something in this world, we have to change this economy.
Definitely. So when we talk about changing economy today, we will talk about the green economy a lot. And before we begin, I would like to do like an association round. I have a ball in my hand. It's called green economy. Now I'm going to throw it around in the space. I'm going to pass it around. And if you get this ball, please take it and shake it, and you can transform this word that you associate with green economy and then pass it to another person. So I'm going to begin green economy, and I'm going to pass it to Agathe.
The first thing that came to my mind was circular economy, which is quite close actually. And I'm going to pass the ball to Yannick.
Camera, microphone.
I was about to write down your answer, but then I had to catch a ball. I'm thinking about resource protection. Green economy is resource protection. Yes, absolutely. And I'm going to pass it on to Ms. Conrad-Beck.
I also agree. I would say green economy is also, for me, sharing economy. How we can share goods.
Sharing, beautiful. Who do you pass it on?
I pass this on Professor Altenau.
Okay.
Thank you. Well, some things have already been said that were the first associations that got into my mind. Maybe I can add that the green economy is, pays attention to justice in several aspects of our lives. So not only the ones that might first come to our mind when we think of a green economy, but many more. Yeah, and I throw the ball to Carla.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. Yeah, I think green economy is Regenschirm, an umbrella for many different terms that we're all trying to figure out. So circular economy, bioeconomy, sharing economy, and I would put the green economy at this as this umbrella that embraces many different subvisions of a sustainable economy and development. Yeah.
Beautiful. Would you pass it on?
Yes, I'll pass it on to Chris Nemeth.
Hi, thank you. You said you see it as an umbrella. I see it more as one source of many, of not an overly important, not an overly emphasized one, but embedded in something where each part is equal, like this, having social justice, having fair distribution, having a good health system, good commons, and that economy is one strong tool, but it's not as it is in our neoliberal politics, where it's just like it dictates everything. So I see it as a strong force, but kind of held back and uplifting other parts of society as well. Now, please help me. I'm late. I had to work later, so I cannot see. I
can just tell you, you can pass it to Nino.
Thank you. Well, let me think. I think I'll pass it to Nino.
Thank you. Yeah, for me, green economy is I think more like Yannick way said it, like economy within the planetary boundaries. And for me, it doesn't mean it has to be a social economy as well. It can be a social economy, but it doesn't have to. So yeah, and I would pass to Johannes.
Thank you. And I take the ball and throw it away again.
Oh.
So yeah, I just wanted to give a small look into the BEK 2030, because the different talks are based on the different topics from the BEK, the Berlin Energy and Climate Plan. And actually in the chapter for economy, it doesn't really say much about the change of the economy. It focuses a lot on energy consumption of the different organizations. And also it points out that the Berlin economy is growing, and at the same time we need to reduce CO2 emissions. So it focuses a lot on green energy, which is also a different chapter. So we want to talk a little bit more than what stands in that chapter. And I'll just ask my first question to Yasmin. And because economy is such a difficult topic for a lot of people, I'll just ask really simple, how does the economy in Berlin work right now?
Oh, this is a difficult question to answer in just 1 hour, I think. But maybe let me focus maybe on the area of the green actors in the economy. And I mean, of course, as Elise already pointed out very correctly, we have many innovative young actors in the city. We are a startup hub, and we are also the green startup hub. Yeah, we found in our Green Startup Monitor, we found that together with North Rhine-Westphalia, they are, and in absolute numbers, are most green startups here in Berlin. And now, if we put it into proportion with the inhabitants, of course, we see that Berlin is like really coined by green startups that, of course, also coin the city. There's a lot of potential there still, and I'm sure we will talk about it. But there, I see a lot of potential in these young, innovative actors that really have sustainability aspects built into their DNA.
Okay. Do you think that the overall economy in Berlin, the tourism sector, and everything that we got already has a focus on green economy or like sustainable topics?
Well, in many sectors, you can see a shift in the last 2 years. I would say there is a clear shift that many sectors pay more attention on sustainability aspects. Nevertheless, we are still lagging in some areas that are really crucial, like, for example, heating and cooling. So heating buildings, heating residential buildings is a huge area of energy efficiency that is, for example, right now not tackled in a sufficient manner, or in a manner that it could have been tackled. Yeah, as well as mobility. Mobility is also a big sector that we still have a lot of potential to implement innovative solutions here.
Okay. And before I come to Nino, just like last question, a follow-up question. How do you think does the green startups, green entrepreneurship currently shape the economic nature of the city?
Well, they do a lot because we have many of them in the city. Of course, they do a lot. Nevertheless, only some of them have really scaled up. So we really have some scale ups, like, for example, Willisto. They have this like smart self-learning technology that enables heat management. Yeah, so this is really a scale up. But then there are many actors that are still quite young, because the sector, like the green startups in general, are younger than other startups. So we still have many startups that are not yet in the stage in which they can really scale up their business models and have a let's say a multiplied effect on our economy.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Then I'll go to Nino. You focus more on economy of the commons. What does that mean?
So yeah, I would say there's a difference in between the commons and the economy for the common good. So the commons are more like something that we have all access to, and property is not only kept by a few people. And the economy for the common good is their systemic change, a whole idea of a systemic change of the actual system, and to shift capitalism to an economy for the common good. So I would give the question back, and I would like to know which one you would like to know more about.
I think the common goods.
Okay, so the economy for common good is an idea, an alternative economic system where we think the capitalism can develop from to this new system, because today in this system we focus only on specific things like money, or we are very money orientated. So we look like how much profit do we make, how much dividends are we paying out, but we are not actually looking at what is important for our transition or transformation. We don't look whether we are not looking value orientated. So we say like the money is not the goal of economy like today, but it is what we can take to gain our goals, the transformation to a more sustainable world and value-orientated world. So this is like the main aspects of the economy for the common good, and we want to do this in saying that companies can do not only a financial sheet, but also a balance sheet for the common good. So we try to measure how much a company actually does for the common good. Because today we say like, okay, this company has some workers and they give them money, so they do something for the common good. But if the question is, are they actually doing something for the common good, or are they just saying it? And with this balance sheet for the common good, we want to measure it, and especially value orientated to value it.
And do you think, because today we're talking mostly about the green economy, or how we can transform the Berlin economy into a green economy, do you think that the current economic model works for the green transition? And does it simply need to be adjusted, or do we need to maybe a systematic change?
Yes. I mean, if you look at the current model, I would say call it capitalism, then we see that it has like a lot of problems, which are not only due to lack of sustainability, but because of the system itself. And it's like, I know, like mostly like capitalism leads to concentration and abuse of power. We would have that in a green economy probably as well, or a green capitalism, which the goal of a green transition then only. And yeah, politics can implement some adjustments like for the transition, but the power of the big corporations is too big to prevent the changes in advance, or to disregard them afterwards. Then another problem is location competition. Big corporations can just go there where the lowest environmental and social standards are given, so they would just go there. We have a gap between rich and the poor, which is definitely a problem, because a green transition will only work if we can take the people that are not that rich with us, and if not, they will go on the streets and they will protest against all what we want to do in a green transition. And capitalism is just like it works now. The last 50 years makes the big between the poor and the rich bigger and bigger. And so if we have this capitalism, we will not have a green transition, because people will go on the streets. And the other problem is, I said it before, is like kind of decline of the values, because maybe you have heard about it, like the term psychopath or corporate psychopath. So egoists have the best chances to be successful in this economy. So it is really a decline of values, and this is only because we work money orientated and numbers orientated and not value orientated. So we need this change, and we need this value orientated economy, so that we need those values to have a real transition, and this values must become a central object of our economic activity, and therefore we definitely need a systemic change.
Thank you. In general, to everyone here, if you have any questions, you can obviously ask those, or if Yasmin or Nino wants to say something to the question we asked the other person, you can obviously say that too. But if that's not the case, I'll just pass it on to Hannah-Lise.
Yeah. Just how can you raise your hand? You can either post a asterisk or a star in the chat, or just raise your hand, because we're so little and we will also just see you. Okay, so thank you, Neno. You were going a little bit already towards the problems of our our current economic system. And I would like to get a little bit more deeper into that and ask, what are most pressing problems of our current economic system from the perspective of climate justice, climate goals, and emission reductions. Like we're in the climate talks now. So what are the biggest problems when we look at our economy from a climate perspective? Yasmin or Nino, feel free to, yeah.
Well, shall I start, Nino? Yeah, maybe you can also like just get into a conversation about that. Well, I think there are really different perspectives and or not different perspectives, but different aspects that are really important, and they cover also different levels. So we have of course the consumer customer level that we all have discussed, and it has its limits, but we like right now we have the problem that our societies and planet's goals are not really aligned with the goals of many of the big corporations. So there's just a mismatch of goals. And one thing that I think could really change things in a first step would really be if we finally manage to internalize external costs. Because what happens right now is that like if companies, no matter if they're small or large, have external costs on the climate, on society, no matter where on this planet, it's not internalized in their prices, and in the end, like the customer doesn't pay for these costs that were caused when the product that they buy were produced. So I think this could be a really important step towards where we want to get.
Okay, Nina, you were just talking about that if the prices go too high, then we have people in the streets and having a lot of resistance against this green changes. What could you say? What do we need to change in our economic system so that it's also socially acceptable to do the green transition?
You said, Yasmin, you said internalize external costs, and it is like some month ago, I was speaking to a high-ranked politician from the SPD, or the Social Party of Germany, and with other organizations. And one of those points that we told him, it would be nice if you would implement this, was like internalizing external costs. And he said like, yeah, we would love to do this and to put it in our program, but then tomorrow the Bild or the main newspaper in Germany would write, SPD, the SPD wants that all the products are getting more expensive, and then nobody would vote them. This is what he said. It's like, maybe not, but it's what he's thinking. And he's like, we have to explain to people how it can work to internalize external costs and why maybe products are getting more expensive. And for me, I think there are like two ways how we can do this. On one thing is, I'm a big fan of the donut economy, and the donut especially, because it makes it very easy to explain why we need something like internalizing external costs. We can show it really easy, and like a politician that then doesn't need to talk like 15 minutes to explain it why we do it. They can just show it on the donut and say like, we need to get in this area.
Can you explain the donut for a few seconds?
Yeah, sorry. So the donut is like two rings, like if you imagine a donut with a hole inside, and the ring, the inner side ring is like the social standards, which is like the minimum social standards that have to be there. And the ring in the outside is about the planetary boundaries. And the idea of the donut economy is that we should be always inside of this donut and those two rings, to have a life that is within the planetary boundaries, but also have the minimum social standards that we need or that we want. So this is like a really nice like picture to explain different kind of things to the people and makes it easier to understand for them. And on the other hand, in the economy for the common good, our idea is that if a company does a lot for the common good, they do a lot for the common good. So the politics doesn't have to do much for the common good then in this area. because the companies are already doing a lot for the common good. So they could pay less taxes. And if they pay less taxes, they could offer lower prices. While companies that do nothing for the common good, or even do bad for the common good, you could, they could pay more taxes, and then they would have to raise their prices, and then we would get a slow shift from not only like for me as an example, like if I go to the supermarket and there's a tomato soup and there's an organic tomato soup and there's a difference of like 70 cents, I'm always thinking like, I want to buy the organic one, but it's like 2-3 times like more expensive. But if the prices are getting closer and closer, then more and more people will buy it. And then also people who don't have a lot of money could easier buy the sustainable products. So we have to tax products and companies that are not good for the common good. And we have to make it easier for companies that are good for the common good to have lower prices.
Thank you very much, both of you, from this. Just commenting also what's going on in the chat for everybody who's watching the stream. So this donut economy is a model developed by Kate Raworth, if somebody wants to check it out. And now also for Agathe, Carla, Chris, and Gulshan, feel free to raise your hand to ask questions. Johannes and I will have prepared many, but we will also be very happy to hear from you. I would still like to ask one question, and it is about growth and about the goals of Berlin. So what should the goal of Berlin's economy look like? And does it mean that the Berlin's economy, the gross domestic product, has to grow? Or could we have also different goals in addition to growth in this current situation? So yeah, I would like to invite you to reflect a little bit about growth, Berlin, and how could it look maybe different?
Yeah, with pleasure. I mean, I very much like the donut economy concept that Nino just introduced. So in this concept, of course, the economy has to fit in so that we, in the end, range within the donut. So how do we manage that economic actors don't try to, in an opportunistic way, like leave the donut on the outer surface, basically like consuming planetary boundaries and our resources. We can prevent it also in it's just one way to prevent it, but we can also prevent it by making sure that these actors have an intrinsic motivation to stay within the donut. So I always say, well, if we need to get into these main, the main markets, the main sectors need to transform in order for the sectors to, in the end, stay within the boundaries that we have. And in order to take over these sectors, at least these young entrepreneurs, these young economic actors that now come in with new innovative ideas and that really want to that are intrinsically motivated, that write it into their DNA of their startup, that they want to contribute to a green economy, and they in some way need to grow in order to become the mainstream. And this is why I always say, well, these young startups, and we know that 43% of all German startups claim to contribute to the green economy. 43% claim that they are a social enterprise. We know, recently, yesterday, I think over 70% of family enterprises really support the creation of a new legal form that would prohibit the distribution of profit. So that the company really becomes a purpose company. And we see these actors out there, and but we need to bring them into the mainstream market. And for this to happen, these actors still need to grow in some way. If it's scalable business, like one scalable business, or a business that multiplies, because this is what you often see with social enterprises, that they share, and basically multiply with many founding teams. This is not so important, but we need them to take over the markets, to become mainstream.
Okay. Nina, would you like to say something about this, like the goals of Berlin economy, growth, how do they fit together? What should be maybe alternative other goals in Berlin?
Yeah, I think this intrinsic motivation is very important, and I also see this shift in startups and new businesses. But I think the problem with this is if the companies have the possibility to get out of this and not have this intrinsic motivation, and they're able to do bad for the environment and for the social, then they will do so if they profit from it. And we not only need this intrinsic motivation, but we also need a systemic change, so companies are not allowed anymore to get out of this like good behavior, because now they can. And I think especially for Berlin, I think there's like 3 different levels. Like we have the systemic level, like for me is like the donut economy that we could implement in Berlin, like Amsterdam already did. We could, on the organizational level, we could offer like financial support for companies that do good for the common good. And on the ego level, I would say, we can offer them a vision and to show them what is possible already today. And we need spaces for experimentational or experimentations, and to show people that transformation is a good thing, and it can make, or is a fun thing to do, because like a lot of people are scared from change or of changes, and we have to take this fear and to show them it's good, and we need those places where they can feel this change already today. So those experimentation rooms and this transformation rooms or spaces. And especially in Berlin now, there's an organization called Transformation Haus and Feld. And this could be such a space where like a lot of organizations can have this experimentation space and show people this could be transformation. And then we take those people with us, we take the organizations with us, and we have the systemic level with the donut economy. So we have the transformation on all the levels to get a Berlin that we want to have.
Okay, thank you. Before we go to the next question, I'll just do a little warm up, a whoop. And it's going to be really easy. Just like sit really straight and just stretch yourself. I don't know if you heard it, but it really knocked a little bit. And then to the right. And to the left. And obviously also down.
Whoa.
All right.
Funky, funky, beautiful.
You look hurt, Yannick.
I'll be all right.
All right. Oh, well. Okay, going back to focus. A little bit different question now about green economy, because we already talked about growth a little bit, but because Nino said at the beginning that green economy isn't in particular just, or like from a social justice perspective. How would a socially just green economy look like to both of you? Or which aspects does it need to be also just to implement the justice part?
Should I start? Okay. Yes, I think like it is in the word sustainability. There are three dimensions. It's economy, it is ecology, and social, and this has to be always on the same level. And today, economy is like definitely in front of all of the others, and now we can take green or ecology within those and say it's as much as important like the economy side, but if we forget the social dimension, then we will get problems because people will not follow the way for this green transformation. So how can it look? We need to look with on every action that we take, and every action that is also like on an logical way, that is it also in a social way. Like we have seen it in France where they had like higher prices for oil and then everybody went on the streets. And so I think this is the main point. We just have to look on every action that we have. How can we take, or how can we not forget people on this transformation?
Yeah, maybe I can add. It's funny that you started with the definition of sustainability. I would have done the same. Yeah, so what I wanted to say, I don't think there's necessarily a trade-off between ecological and societal goals. Within the definition of responsibility, we have these two aspects, right? Like, well, justice between our generation and future generations, and justice within our generation with everybody who's now on the planet. So I am convinced that like part of a green economy is also solving societal challenges, and we see, well, if we take the second dimension of the definition of sustainability into account, it includes so many social challenges. So I see that like if you think about the concrete measures, there might be trade-offs, and they of course should be managed. Nevertheless, I think that that green actors like should always, this is at least what I hope, when they really build their sustainable business models, take societal challenges into consideration when building their business models, and at the same time they can also focus on societal challenges and deliver solutions that are at the same time green. So I would really say, well, besides this trade-off that there definitely is, we have many synergies between these two pillars.
Okay, but to get a little bit more concrete, what does it need from the city administration, for example, to promote, facilitate, and raise awareness for green economy then, and like to help the economy, or a green social just economy?
Yeah, so I mean, I of course speak for my green startups now. What we would need more, I mean, there is already, and there are some really like stellar examples of green startups that were included in public procurement processes, but these projects are really rare. And what we really would need, and this is not only for awareness, but also like just for the mere fact that many startups have to go through a valley of death, and this valley of death could be prevented and like just supported by public procurement. But startups very often don't qualify, like they don't exist for 10 years. They don't have the turnover that is needed to apply for public procurement. But they are like very often, and especially if you think about going green, they have the best solutions, and not only the best solutions for the green economy, but also the best solutions in regards to economic aspects, and very often these solutions are not considered in public procurement. So if I can ask something from public administration in Berlin, is to really consider more of these young actors when it comes to public procurement, and to make that more concrete, because Johannes, you just asked for it being a bit more concrete. We have, like in Berlin, for example, a startup that is called Perto. And because there was someone in the administration who had the courage to give them the order, they they gave more than 50 fire stations new heating pumps. And as I said, heating and cooling is one of the most important sectors that where we can really save energy. So this is the really important step, and it came into effect because there was somebody in public administration who was courageous enough to give this order to a startup that doesn't have a track record for 10 years because it just didn't exist for the last 10 years.
Okay, you talked a lot about startups now, but what do you think with big corporations that already work in the city?
Yeah, so I think in regard, you mean raising awareness for the green economy with big corporations?
And how can the transition, or how can that transition?
So okay, thank you. I think now we come back to one of the questions that you raised in the very beginning, and because I think like a big problem is that big corporations very often don't carry green in their hearts. Yeah, they don't carry green in their DNA. So everything that comes from the outside is not really lived. It's not part of their the DNA that they work on. And we either have to align goals so that the corporations really see a sense in following, sharing the goals that we have as a city in regard to our green goals, or we have to make sure that in some way costs are internalized. But then of course we have these challenges that Nino pointed out, and that are really important because we might face other problems.
Okay. Nino, do you want to say something to it?
Yes. I have a pessimistic view on that. So I think if you were to ask big corporations if they already do something, they would say, oh yeah, we contribute something. Like last week, it's not a burning company, it's Amazon Germany. Last week I heard a talk from the chief of Amazon, or the head of Amazon Germany, about sustainability. And like half an hour, and he was like talking all the stuff, what they're doing. And at one point he said like, yeah, we even are the sponsors of citrus fruits for the Tafel in Munich. And I was like, wow, this is really good. Like, you are Amazon, and this is like this is like nothing. How can you even say this in a talk like this? It doesn't mean anything. Like, it is something, but it's not something. Like, and I also heard something from BMW 2 days ago about sustainability, and it was like the same thing. They have like they have their own honey. They have apple trees on their fields and stuff, and then it's like a 2 hours talk, and 1 hour is only about those fields and this honey. And why is so? Because they take or they contribute to sustainability, but it's only next to their business. And as long as those companies don't change the purpose, nothing will change. And this is the problem with big corporations. And I don't think big corporations will change their purpose in the next years. As you see, like for BMW, they even get money from politics for that we buy more and more cars, because they are holding up this purpose, and they are not changing it. And I don't believe that they will change it. So for me, it's only the way they will like fall out of the market one day, or especially like we don't have to buy from big corporations anymore. And this is my pessimistic view in this for big corporations.
Right. So we have the feeling we're somehow good ideas and then run into walls or dead ends. So I'm wondering now in which direction we could go the best. So somehow the questions that are in my mind are a lot about like, okay, now we have we have this green startups, and we have these big corporations who have also a lot of political power, who also have a lot of privileges in the society. What is it that we could do in Germany on a legislation ground, or what are the things that would promote the systemic change? Not only that the customers buy, like we've been talking about customers a little bit, but what are the things that we need that promote the systemic change, that the big corporations who don't want to maybe do something green are forced to do that, or invited to do that? We talked about this, internalizing the externalities, but what else could there be? What else could, for instance, the city of Berlin do to promote this transition? I have a feeling I need some more concrete stuff.
Yeah, I think I maybe already said like something like this on the 3 different levels. Like, we need to implement donut economy and to have this in Berlin, like Amsterdam already does. And we need like for like from the economy for the common good perspective, we need financial support for companies that already do something for the common good. And the problem is that it's really difficult to measure, because there are like green companies or social companies, green startups and social startups, but how green or social are they really? And it's really difficult to tell. And which companies do we give money then and which not? Because today every company would say they do something for the SDGs, but it doesn't mean that they're really doing it. So and our perspective is we have first, like, we should measure how much the companies are really like doing for the common good. So they should do like a sustainability report, like the balance sheet or the economy for the common good balance sheet. And then we can give those companies like financial support that are doing a lot for the common good. And all those who want to transform, we can give financial support for the projects of companies that are not doing for the common good, so they can transform to something better. And then like on the ego level to have something like in Berlin, like Transformation Haus und Feld, because people can then experience what it means to have this transformation.
Yeah, sounds good that you repeated this. Yasmin, do you have an idea? Is there something that we still didn't discuss about? Some like a concrete policy measure, for instance?
Yeah, I would like to underline the internalizing of external costs, because this will really, I mean, if they sell less, they are intrinsically motivated to change something, right? So this would be one step. The other step is, well, if we really support green actors or sustainable actors, yeah, so with that really like focus on a problem that is ecological or societal, we might really grow new default options, and many of them are already in place. So like right now, we always assume that we have to decide whether we buy the unsustainable option or we buy the sustainable one, and then we have to invest more, yeah, either more money, or yeah, so we have to invest more. But things are changing here right now. So many of the sustainable, the green solutions that come on the market are actually the default option, because they also save more money than the other solution would have. So we are at least, well, I want to use tipping point because it's your name. So we are a bit at a tipping point here, because like more and more young companies bring out solutions that will become the default option, because it makes much more sense to use these options, not only for societal and ecological reasons, but also for financial ones. Well, first this, and now, like, what can Berlin do? Berlin could identify these new actors with their innovative solutions and really support them. We know that in pre-seed phases, green startups really lack support. So and Berlin already offers Berliner Startup Stipendium, and there is already a focus on at least energy and resources here. But of course, this could be a bit broader in regard to ecological and societal impact. And because you, Neno, already introduced the tool, I also want to introduce the tool. So how could Berlin choose which of these actors really has a large impact potential? Yeah, when they scale up. There, we at the Border Step Institute, we developed a DIN spec standard. The DIN standards are a very German thing, and it was also a very interesting experience to be part of that team. But it has been published last year, and it helps third parties looking at startups to assess the potential sustainability impact that the startup will have on its way on the path of its development already at a very early stage. So that could be a tool I would recommend to the Berlin administration when choosing which of these young actors to support financially and through these very early stages.
Thank you. Before I come to the question from the chat, because we talked a little bit more about internalizing external costs. And I think my question is a little bit, how do you do that? Because if you look at a CO2 price right now, it's 25 euros maybe, but now it should rise. But if I look at scientific measures of a CO2 price, it really depends on from which perspective do you look at the CO2. So do you look from the perspective of how much does it cost to reduce it, or from the view of how much damage does it produce, or from the view of how much does it cost to take it back? And I see the price range between like 120 euros and 5,000 euros per ton of CO2. So how do you internalize those numbers if they're so unclear? And a different example, maybe if you have a tree, and you have to, like, it's really simple right now. And obviously in the economy, it's way more difficult. But from the image, if you have a tree in the city, it has a completely different impact than a tree in a forest that's surrounded by way more trees. So how can you do that?
Yeah, well, I think in general, CO2 compensation is a huge topic, yeah, and it's like really it's really big, and we could spend much more time on this discussion. I also have I know many people who are very critical about it, especially in regard to what kind of trees are planted where, and if this is really the value that we are aiming for. So, but I don't really want to start this large discussion. But what I can say is that this question, there are really some of young startups that are also based in Berlin that are dealing with this question. And we have, for example, Right Based on Science and Planetly, that have on a very scientifically on a scientific basis developed models which they can use to in a standardized form calculate at least CO2 emissions of business activities. So at least I think there's a good basis for using a certain standard. Whether the standard is the one single solution, for sure not, and for sure it will also be have to be questioned and further developed. But there is a good basis to at least bring it together on one on one perspective, so that to start with.
Okay, I think I'll just go to the question from Chris from the chat. What do you think about implementing completely complementary currencies in Berlin? It's now a completely different topic, maybe, but maybe you have something interesting to say about it.
I'm actually not an expert in this field, but I think that is a good thing, a necessary thing. Like we see it in the European Union. how it makes things more complicated to have one currency in whole Europe. Like before, we had like different countries, different currencies, and if one economy was stronger than the other, they could like I don't know how the word is said. Like I would look it up.
Ausgleichen. Like balance.
Balance it over the. Yeah. Thank you. Balance over the currency. So if the one country is stronger in the economy, they can balance it over the currency changes. So it always is almost the same. Now with the European Union and the euro, we have different countries but one currency. So if Germany is getting stronger in their economy, other countries don't have this possibility anymore to have this balance, and it makes it more complicated to balance their economy towards other countries. And so I'm totally a fan of the euro, and we need this. But I think it is additional important to have different currencies as well to have those balances. And this can be on a country level, but also on a city level. So yeah.
Maybe Chris, if you asked the question because you informed yourself a little bit about it, maybe you can also say something to it if you want.
Yes, thank you. I still have the camera off because I'm moving, and in another telco, people told me to turn it off because they were getting ill. So I'm only doing that to be considerate. Yeah, I was thinking about financing, and I had that quote from Buckminster Fuller in mind, saying something like, if you want to change something, don't try to change the system, but invent something to make it obsolete. So I thought, why not have these complementary currencies? I thought about that, especially now with COVID, to kind of boost green economy, but also more local brands and strengthen them. And so that they don't have to perhaps be dependent on public procurators, or they can have a better standing for applying to some bigger projects if there would be like an alternative economical system within Berlin. Yeah, that's what I mean. Tech.
Okay, thank you. And in general, if anyone wants to say something, you can obviously do that. And Hannelore, do you want to say something?
I just wanted to invite you to do a little stretch, because I was noticing that I was getting a little bit stiff, and maybe look away from the screen for a moment out of the window, because in my home at Berlin, it's kind of sunny outside, so I'm looking out of the window. Oh, sorry, one moment. Yeah, actually, I do have, from my earlier experience, I come from Finland, and there used to be a kind of a boom of this kind of time bank, using time as a currency, especially, on a city level, on a town level, supporting little companies, but also individual people exchanging their time, of using time as a currency. I think this is still something very different. But I wanted to ask you, do you know any good examples from the world, maybe, where alternative currencies are used on a city or a town level that could be also useful for Berlin? Or is this something that can support the transition, or is it just something nice and sweet to have for the community, but not really having a great impact? That's my question. Could alternative currencies actually have an impact to make the ambitious transition that we need?
To be honest, I'm not an expert in alternative currencies. I know that there have been, in some regions, they run very successfully, but I don't have any idea if this has an impact or has had an impact on the sustainability transformation. What I could imagine is that in some sectors it might have. So for example, if it's about consumer goods, maybe also food and nutrition. Yeah. So in maybe also in Landwirtschaft. No, I'm
agriculture.
Thank you, Yannick. In agriculture, if like up to a certain point, I could well imagine that like basically building a regional like closed system almost could well work for proving your product. Yeah, for proving that you have like for having a proof of concept and maybe also a proof of market, at least on this regional level. And then I could imagine that you might reach some borders and limits, and because at a certain point, like you have to like step out of this bubble, and then there are some sectors where I think it's really difficult, and especially if it comes to green innovations, we very often talk about hybrid business models, so about technology, like digital elements combined with physical technology, and this is something that is very difficult to integrate in a very small or like a broken down in economic system, like for example in Berlin. So there you really need the perspective and also actors that support your development, so that you make it actually to the point where you can prove your concept and your market. So I could imagine it depends very much on the sectors.
Yeah, but it's interesting what you say about food production, locality, and it also has a justice element, definitely. Yeah. Oh.
Because we're running out of time really slowly, or faster than I thought, actually. I want to come to a little bit of a closing question, like the pre-closing question, because afterwards we have a closing question. But the question is like, because we talked now a lot about green economy, common goods and stuff like that. But one problem that I have in my head since years is time in general. So, and like two budgets and stuff like that. So 2030, 2050, 2045 now, and stuff. So do you actually think that, or how high are the chances that the economy actually transforms to a green and social justice economy within the time that we have left for the climate crisis to stop or to slow down at least? I will just give you a few seconds and you can decide if you want to say something about it, because it's, I guess.
Well, was it the question how much time we have, or is it possible, or both?
How high are the chances?
How are the chances that we make it? Oof. I think, I don't know. Actually, I don't. It depends on like what is the outcome. I think nature will overlive us anyway. So as a society, as we know it right now, I think the chances are, I don't know, I think they're quite high. I think we as humans are capable of a lot of things, and we are capable of more than we think, especially when we work together. And if we concentrate on that, we can definitely make it. And we have seen, like in the past, what people are able to do. They just work on their own, like inventing stuff, like so much things, and we can definitely make it. The question is, are we willing to make it? And is everybody willing to make it? And right now, I'm not so sure about it, but I think more and more people are, and also big corporations know that they have to do something. The question is like, are they, the big corporations at least, are they really understanding it? Are they really changing their purpose? Or if it's just like some flowers they're throwing away or around, I mean. And so yeah, but I think we can make it. And yeah.
Yeah, maybe I can add. I had to think of some former colleagues of mine from the institute who for decades now work on the sustainability transition, and who in the last 2 years actually, so they said, well, I basically gave up. I don't believe we can make it anymore. And now in the last 2 years this has really changed, because a new generation is coming, and it's the people that actually we are I'm here to talk to, and that are maybe watching the stream. So there's things have really changed, and this has changed also let's say the mindset of people who for decades have fought for the sustainability transition and who almost gave up. And this is something that I personally experienced with, as I said, colleagues of mine, and I feel it too. So I'm also it is challenging, but I think we have a chance to make it. And this is also something that so I truly believe in, and this is what I would like to communicate also to my students and to everybody who's listening now, that we can make it. And we have the actors, we have the ideas, but we have to be bold to walk the steps that are necessary to be taken.
I would like to add something to it, because I think green transition is definitely it's possible that we do it, but there as well the social part is very important. Now probably the Green Party in Germany will have a major part in the next 5 years, and I think those 5 years are really important, not only about if they are really starting the green transition, but are they leaving people behind or not? And this will be the thing, whether people are going on the streets and protest against those green transitions or not. And it is possible that then afterwards we will have a stronger right wing or stronger conservatives, and then maybe the green transition is already over, or just in a special, in a different way. So for me, this is the biggest fear, if the Green Party will actually take people with them, also those who don't have a lot of money, or will they leave them behind?
Oh, well, I had a really good follow-up question after Yasmin spoke. I'll just ask it now, even though it doesn't sound that good anymore. Which are the concrete next steps then? Because you talked about steps in your last sentence.
Well, yeah, it's really difficult to think of all the different sectors and markets and so on and so forth that need to be transitioned. But if we let's bring it back to Berlin, because this is what we talk about today, right? So I think there are some steps that Berlin could really take, and there are examples out there that we could follow. For example, Copenhagen and Stockholm. Yeah, both of these cities, they have really reduced the energy consumption in regard to heating and cooling. Stockholm, by really centralizing heating, taking it away from the houses, centralizing it, has reduced energy consumption for heating by 70%. Stockholm by over 80% for this for this small sector alone. So there's a lot of potential here. So that would be the first thing I would go for, right? Heating and cooling. And then we could really think about the construction sector. So we are right now not using recycled cement. We're running out of sand for the cement, but we're still not using recycled cement. There's so much to do in the constructing sector. I'm super happy that Tegel Airport has closed so that Urban Tech Republic can move in together with my university, but university will be part of it. And we will see urban technologies in regard to construction being developed and implemented there, and that's a huge chance. And then third sector, so we have heating and cooling, we have construction, and the third sector for bold steps is mobility. So there's a lot Berlin can do in regard to sustainable mobility options.
Beautiful. It's actually beautiful what you say, Yasmin, because you're connecting also different action fields that we have been discussing here. Mobility, transport was last week. In the beginning, we had construction and housing. And so we see how the things are interweaving. We still have one question from Gulshan about how do you think the pandemic is going to impact our economic models and globalization? And maybe we bring it down to Berlin. Do you see that the pandemic is maybe giving some possibilities for the green transition, or is it more hindering it? Just some observations from your side.
I don't know whether I can already see something in this field. I think at the beginning of the pandemic, we said we were getting having more solidarity in Berlin. I don't see that anymore, actually. I don't think that it has this big solidarity impact on us in Berlin or any other part of the world. So it is, I don't know whether it's COVID itself which has like this impact right now on the people or the city. But what I have seen after the last financial crisis, there were like a lot of startups and new ideas in 2010, starting with new ideas like social economy. The economy for the common good itself was invented in 2010 after this financial crisis. And I think the same will happen after COVID, because people noticing the world, like how it functions today, is not working good. And if you see with the vaccine, like now it's changing a bit maybe, but we are not giving it to other countries. And it is like, how stupid is that? And it is all because of this capitalism. And I think more and more people are able to see it now, how capitalism is doing bad for this world. So I think after COVID, a lot of new companies will start, a lot of new ideas will come up to how to change this economic model. And I hope so. And I also think, which was already before COVID, startups and other companies were getting more and more political. And I think this will like getting bigger as well, that companies will try to act more political. And this I say it's like lobbying, but the big corporations doing it behind doors, and those social companies are doing lobbying in front of the doors with the people. And this could be a nice impact as well.
Beautiful. So to see that maybe the crisis even has some positive impacts. Yeah. So everybody who's listening to this, if you're a possible future entrepreneur, maybe this is a good time to start thinking. Ha.
No, you did a little bit of advertisement, I guess. Okay, now after the pre-closing question, I'm coming to the closing question, and the closing question is actually for everyone. And it's actually not only a question you can answer with your mouth, but it's also with a pen. And I welcome you to take a pen and a paper and just draw, and I give you like 30 seconds, maybe 60 seconds. You can say when you're done or once you're done. And the question is, what is your vision of the economy in Berlin 2030? What are the most pressing steps toward that vision? And yeah, and don't forget 2030, not 50, not 100. So it's in 9 years.
Yeah. Okay. So very concentrated drawing. It can also be abstract. It can be like the expression of your emotions to this. Mm.
So if you're done, you can just raise your hand or like do anything with your hand. So Yannick needs a few seconds, or was he done?
1 second.
I cannot draw though, so you will have to bear with what I produced.
Actually, I'll give you the chance to say something to the drawing too.
Thank you.
To everyone, actually. So yeah, what did you draw? I think you won't be able to see. Oh yeah, you can be.
Oh,
What did you draw? A lot of circles.
A
Yeah.
lot of donuts, I see.
donuts.
Oh yeah. Yes, I can see it.
Well, this is bad luck, but you can't see what I drew.
You have to put it in front of your body somehow.
Yeah, but
Come
the thing is,
closer.
I also drew the donut actually. Let's see.
Okay.
You still cannot see it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, but I also draw a donut.
Okay. Well, thank you, I guess. Or does anyone want to say something more about it? There's also an umbrella. Yeah.
Yes, I draw a big umbrella because we need, I think, a big umbrella, step to step, bring everything under one. We have, for the moment, I think, lots of umbrellas, and we had, yes, we need to look how we can bring all these points to one big. To have him in one big umbrella.
Beautiful. Thank you. I see. Hand waving from Carla. Oh, wow. I'm looking at the time. So again, Yannick, we have like a very generous 30 seconds for you to show the core points from your Miro harvesting. What you've been documenting after this beautiful drawing gallery that we just saw on the impressions.
Right. The 30-second Miro challenge.
Yes.
Once again. Thank you so much for today's discussion, especially to the speakers, but of course also to our participants. You can see that I took a lot from this talk. It's always a good sign when you run out of space. And I will finish up on donut visions in a second, but on this blue part, you can see sort of the meta levels when we were talking about the system as such and systemic change that we require. We talked a lot about the donut economy. We talked about internalizing external costs, but of course also about the model as such, an economy of the commons versus economy of the common good. And then, oops, this just moved, but I will move it back. On this part, we talk more about the city level, Berlin as such. So we're a lot about startup and what they need, also what kind of support they need from the city. Especially public procurement was mentioned by Yasmin as an example, but also again, the systemic level falling into place, as well as the organizational, in this case, financial support, and the individual or ego level, as Neno called it, which creates spaces for experimentation. An example was Transformation Haus and Feld, which was mentioned. And last but certainly not least, oh, sorry, that was meant to be open questions. One open question was from Gulshan, what impact the pandemic might have. on the economy of Berlin, but also what would promote the systemic change? What do we need as incentives maybe? And what I find also particularly interesting is the, moving out and in again, is the connection to the other action areas that we have already been discussing on the campus, and something that was very beautifully mentioned by Yasmin, the connection to the energy, building and mobility sectors, for example. So yeah, I gained a lot of knowledge in this discussion, and I'm very, very thankful for it.
Yes. And give each other an applause for everybody being here, spending this afternoon with us, this early evening. But it's still not an end. It's going to be a closing for today, but next week we go on with on the 20th of May on the topic of adaptation to climate change in the context of Berlin, but also maybe in a global context, focus in Berlin. And in June, there's going to be something super exciting coming. We will organize the Young Climate Conference from the 17th and 18th of June. So for all of you and everybody who's listening and seeing us through the streaming, come to our website and register for this conference. You will be able to participate in the formulation of the claims that will then be handed over to the Berlin Senate, so the city of Berlin, based on these climate talks and based on the experience of the people. So yes, there are some really exciting things coming. And now still once more, thank you to Yasmin and Nino for being here and sharing all your knowledge, inspiration with us. And now I would invite us all just to put on the mics and we say thank you and bye and close for this evening. And I wish you a wonderful evening, walk, dinner, whatever comes. So just put on your mic.
A donut.
A donut. Oh my God, yes. Let's bake some donuts.
Yeah, thank you very much also for the skillful moderation to
yes.
all of you. Really, yeah, it was a pleasure being with you today.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Thank you to everyone.
Thank you all. Thank you very much for organizing.
Bye-bye.
Bye.